Hello and welcome to the Madhouse UK podcast. I'm Steve Tierney, and this isn't really a game-related podcast. I may do some game stuff later, talk a little bit about it, and I will be doing a more serious one tomorrow before New Year, so there's still another one to come. But this is just me a bit bored, kind of waiting for DungeonWorld to finish running, so I thought I'd do a podcast and have a bit of fun, talk about what I got for Christmas really. So I've kind of picked up a few of the things I got, so excuse me. Nice cup of tea. Okay, so a few of the things I got for Christmas. I'm interested to see whether the sort of things that you guys got are similar. I think gamers and kind of people who are into the kind of fantasy genre and sci-fi and horror all tend to get similar things, I think. In the old days, I always used to get everything with skulls, and because I quite like skulls and macabre things, but I got so many skull things that I was like, please stop getting me skull things, and now nobody buys me skull things, so now I go all the way through Christmas, I don't get any skull things at all, which is a bit sad in a way. I nearly got one apparently this year, but it got broken in the post. So just to have a look at some of the things I got, so I rather like this here. I'll just show you it in the camera there. This is my special mug that makes me the unofficial Prime Minister. It says, may offer advice about government policy. Advice will generally involve flogging. I don't want to flog you, I promise. Okay, what else have I got? Some other cool things. I've got, so what gamer doesn't get dice for Christmas? But look at this. Solid gold dice. Solid gold. They're not really solid gold. But sorry, that's the right way up. They're not really solid gold, but they are pretty good looking, and they look like they're solid gold, which is good enough for me. And they're weighty, you know, you're old, heavy old dice, which is good. Give them a roll, knock everything flying on the table. It's great. So have to always get some more dice. Got this little bell. Look at this. It says ring for tea, and when I ring it, I'm supposed to get some tea. Now, it sort of works so far, but I reckon it won't work for very long, would be my guess. Okay, what else we got? I got this from a friend of mine. This isn't game related, but look at that. That is a ploughman set with condiments, pate and biscuits. No cheese. You've got to get your own cheese, I suppose, because it goes off. But this would be great if I wasn't on a keto diet, so I can't eat the biscuits or the condiments. The pate is probably okay because keto is no carbs, and so I have to check really the ingredients of the pate, see what's in it. But that's kind of fun. Now look at this. I love this. So I got this painting of a cow. Look, get in the right place on the camera. What do you think of that? That's really good because I like paintings of cows. It's just a weird thing about me, I guess, but I think they're great. I've got all sorts of paintings in here. You can't see them through the podcast camera, but kind of off of the other side, I've got several paintings of cows, and it's another one to add to my collection, which is kind of good fun. Now, I also got a lot of comics. I've collected comics since I was, I don't know, 7 years old, 6 years old, something like that, and I've got about 30,000 comics, probably more, because I did also own a comic shop for a few years, a long time ago, and that enabled me to, obviously, when the shop closed, I had all the stock left over from that as well as my own collection. Then I carried on buying. I was spending at one point £50 or £60 a month on comics, and that was back when comics were a lot cheaper than they are now. So, but I got some fun ones, so I thought I'd show you them. So first of all, I got this Brightest Day set. Now, I'm a DC guy. I like Marvel too, and I have got a lot of Marvel comics, and I used to read a lot of Marvel. I started with the X-Men, but I prefer DC. I just prefer the DC universe, so it's great. I got all of the Brightest Days, book 2, volume 3 there, volume 1. That's a good old one of these great big crossovers, and one that I missed because it was kind of after I stopped collecting. Now, what happened was, back in about 2009, just got a bit bored with it really, and I thought the stories were getting a bit naff, so I was finding out all my comics were arriving, but I didn't have the same excitement for them that I'd had in the old days when I used to get my comic box in, and quite often they would sit there unread for weeks, and sometimes they would then get filed in my collection without ever being read, and that was completely original. That had never happened really before, so there was a message to me that probably it was time to think about doing it differently, and I was a bit short of money at the time. I was trying to do a lot of things and didn't have loads of spare cash, so I thought an obvious saving was to cut the comic order, so that's what I did. And then I never really went back to it until about a year and a half ago when I encountered Ethan Van Sciver, who is Comic Artist Pro on YouTube. I like watching a lot of different YouTube stuff, but I particularly like Comic Artist Pro, brilliant stream. And the whole Comicsgate thing I really like because it made me realise what it was that I stopped liking about comics. They were trying too hard to send a political message through kind of diversity. They were just trying too hard not to offend anyone, or to try and reach groups that perhaps didn't read them. And I don't think it ever really worked, because all it really did was put off people like me who had been used to a certain style of comic escapism, and it just changed. But I don't really think it brought in many replacements for the sort of money that I, and I'm sure many others, used to spend. So this thing, Comicsgate, is a bunch of independent comics book creators who are making comics like they used to be, without the whole political baggage. And they get called a lot of names, as you do whenever you say anything against one side of politics or the other. But I like most of the comics. I've backed a lot of them, and when they come in, I'm excited. The only downfall with them is that you only get, each creator only puts out 1 or 2 books a year. That's nothing like your monthly comic fix you used to get, and you're still spending quite a lot of money, because to back these independent things cost a whole bunch of money each time, not just a few pounds for the book. So there is a downside to it, and I've kind of covered that by backing more books, so stuff comes in quite regularly. But it has restarted my interest in the comic book collecting hobby the way it used to be. And what I've begun doing is I've got a lot of stuff down from the loft, and I've begun organising an actual comic book library in my house. I've got a load of shelves set up. I'm actually finally, the things that have been sitting in storage cases in the loft are being brought down, dusted off, and given pride of place in a proper comic book library, being organised. And I'm beginning to buy new product as well, although a lot of that is more back issues to fill the collection than the modern stuff. Now, I do hope that modern books kind of follow the pattern of the independent books and get back to what they should have been, or what they used to be. That would certainly suit me. Might not suit everyone, I don't know, but you buy what you like, don't you? So if you don't like it, you don't buy it. And if they make a book that not enough people like, it's not going to sell a lot. And I think probably comic book sales reflect that a little bit. But I wanted to show you some of the things I've got. So I already showed you the Brightest Day, which I haven't read all of that yet. It's these big complex crossovers. I think they're fun if they get the right characters. I'm not an enormous fan of a couple of the characters in the Brightest Day, but then I am a big fan of some of the others. So I don't like Hawkman and Hawkwoman at all. I'm not a massive fan of Martian Manhunter, but I like Aquaman. I like Deadman a lot. I like Green Lantern. Firestorm's okay, and there's a whole bunch of others come and go, but the kind of the narrator, as far as I can see so far, is Deadman, and Boston Brand. I love that character, so that's great. So that it's a good read so far. I'm enjoying it. While I was sorting out my collection, I did manage to find these Green Lantern Rebirth. Now, what's exciting about these is that the artist is Ethan Van Sciver, who is the guy that kind of got me back into comics again. So finding that the whole bunch of the Green Lantern Rebirths and a bunch of his other stuff too, actually, is, well, I think great. I'm quite excited about it. I was pleased that it kind of turned it up. I wasn't actually looking for it. I just think, oh, look who I found. So that was good. And then, now this is really special. I don't know. I expect I'm indulging you or not indulging you really, because you guys are probably waiting for game stuff. I'm talking to you about comics. You're probably, a lot of you, turning off now. But if you've ever read comics, and I'm sure every one of you has a comic that really kind of shook you, that you thought was brilliant, you thought was very, very clever and different. Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns are the ones people often name, and I completely agree. But I think this, what I'm about to show you, is the greatest comic ever made. Just my opinion. A lot of people will completely disagree with me, and it's the story, because I'm one of these guys. A lot of people look at the art and the story and all the other things, inking and the colouring and the lettering or whatever you're into. I like all of that stuff, but for me the story is key, and this is the one. This is Animal Man number 26, and this is the end of the run for Grant Morrison, who'd been writing Animal Man, I think, from number 1 of this particular launch. And it had gone really wacky and weird, and I wasn't a massive fan, to be honest with you. I quite like the character, but it does tend to go a bit, well, again, political before even everything became political. And it was just it just got so weird and strange that it even put me off, and I quite like weird, strange things. But this issue is special, and I think Morrison realised he wasn't going to be doing any more. And so in this comic, Animal Man meets his maker, which is the writer of the comic. And it's really quite different. I mean, it's breaking the whole fourth wall thing, before its time in a way, and in a way that hasn't, I don't think, been done, because not only does the character acknowledge they're a character in the comic book, but the author responds in the comic book, and then there are some other clever things that happen, and it's just very satisfying. If you want to read something that's a bit different and will make you think, not massively deeply, it's not, we're not talking about a philosopher here, but as comics book go, this is an interesting read, and I could not recommend it enough. What else have we got? I've got a bunch of cans of this. There you go. This is a Tango Strawberry and Watermelon, which is presently my favourite soft drink. Really rather nice. 0 calorie too, which is great. And I think I've pretty much covered all the cool things that I got. So, I mean, obviously there was a lot more presents than that, but these were cool things that were kind of hanging around that I could pick up easily and show you on the podcast. Okay, so what I've been doing yesterday and today and Friday night is running DungeonWorld. It took a particularly long time this time because I had a lot to do. There were all the special offers had to be implemented, and people don't just write simply, give me this, give me that, here's some money. They write often quite complex things about what they want, and then this one also had the special offer of the skills, the combi skills, the 2 skills put together. People wrote their own descriptions, they all had to be typed in. There was a whole bunch of new stuff I had to add for the traders and for the estates based on the chat room discussion. That took quite a long time. There was a couple of fairly complex bugs to resolve, which are resolved now, including the bug that was causing a certain type of estate employee to appear far more often than the others. That wasn't as simple as it appeared. People thought it was just the wrong number being picked up. No, that was a bit more complex for what was causing that, but I did find it, and I think I've resolved it. We'll know after this term by if you still get a load of them being offered to you. And at the moment the game is running in the background. Now, the way it works is there are several stages to go through when you run the game. The game has completely run, the printouts have been built, and I have built the PDFs for the American postal players, and they've been emailed off to Madhouse USA. And as we speak, Kerry Harrison is probably working on them to get them printed out and posted off tomorrow, which is great. I always do that first because the postal players there have less time to get the turnaround from when the turns go out to when they can get their orders in. Everybody in the UK and all of the kind of Madhouse UK players all play by email. So it takes you seconds to get your turn when they're ready, and it doesn't take you anywhere near as long to look at them and get them back. So I've got what else have I done? I've sent the Madhouse USA players out. I've built all the NVE files. That's a different process, and they are on the server and can be downloaded right now. So anybody who plays by the NVE can look at their turn right now, no problem at all. The only thing that takes a long time is building all the PDFs for the email players. That normally takes 2 or 3 hours, and that's what's happening in the background. You might hear the buzz on my microphone that's different to usual. That's my Mac buzzing away in its merry old way, building the PDFs at the moment for players to enjoy as soon as they're ready. So I would expect them to be finished in another hour or 2, I would imagine, and then I'll email them off before midnight tonight, I'm sure. And then we'll be done for another term. Okay, I wanted to remind you about a couple of, I've got in my diary here, a couple of days that I want to do chat rooms. So I'm going to do a chat room on Sunday the 5th of January at 7 p.m. There's no generic conversation about that. That is, I expect we'll be talking about the things that have happened in the turn, Mid and Goss, which I hope will be out for launch by then, probably the 5 new areas, and Demon Rift if everything goes according to plan. And then again on the Sunday the 12th, but that one's a bit later. That one's actually into Monday the 13th. So it's Sunday the 12th, but just after midnight at 12:30. So don't make the mistake. Some of you made this mistake last time. You thought I said Monday at midnight. I didn't. This is Sunday just after midnight, so into the very small hours of Monday morning. So basically 12:30 in the morning on the Monday of the 13th. And we'll do a chat room there. Now, there'll be a specific topic for that, I think, but I don't know what it's going to be yet. We'll decide that at the first one and what people want to do. And there'll be another one of these ones where we develop some enhancements to the game together and hopefully come up with some good ideas. So, what else have we got? So it's going to be a big year, I think. It's going to be an exciting year. I feel excited about it. We've got more players joining the game. All players seem to be interested in what's going on. The grand plot is developing, and I think it's getting quite interesting. We've got a new king. We've got a challenger who's causing some problems for the new king. We've got a wider scope with the Red Knights and what are they about, and people are beginning to uncover the secrets because I noticed some of the old areas are coming to a close. People are discovering the secrets at the end. They quite often fill in some of the gaps, so information is out there. We've got the in later in the year we've got the Madhouse UK pub meet or chat pub meet. Minicon. It's not a pub meet, is it? It's a whole weekend. And then with a bit of luck in October, we've got the USA Minicon. So, wow, it's going to be a busy year for Dungeon World, and I even have some other things I'd like to get on the go as well. I feel absolutely invigorated and really ready to do some great work this year. Thank you so much for all your custom. It's brilliant to have you guys along for the ride. One thing you can do for me though, I say this every time, but I hope that you'll do it, is I hope you like this video when you've watched it. Please just click that thumbs up, that helps a lot. Please, if you've not subscribed to the podcast and you wait for me to tell you about it, just subscribe to it. It don't take a minute, and then ring the bell. It's that little bell symbol above the subscribe button, and that means that you will always get notified when a new podcast comes out. It's useful to do all these things because every one of these things increases the visibility on YouTube, and that is brilliant for new players being brought into the game and seeing what's going on. I'm excited by it, and I think other people will look at it and say, what's this all about? And some of them come and join in. So please do that, and leave a comment. If you enjoyed the podcast and you want to say something, why don't you tell me what presents you got for Christmas? Are you a typical gamer? Did you get solid gold dice? I don't know. You tell me. Anyway, that's pretty much it for now. Tomorrow night is an exciting podcast, so please do tune in. There's lots of in-game news tomorrow night, but I'm not telling you what it is yet. Anyway, until then, have a good evening.